Hi, welcome back to the second half, and I'm going to start again, and all the poets you've heard in the first half are going to be on again, hopefully reading different poems. I've just been in Ireland for a week. Next Sunday, it's 100 years since the Rising in Dublin, and so I went over there to have a look at the sites, and there's an exhibition on about the Rising and all the things that went on around it. But I was in Dublin a few years ago, and I wrote a poem about Kilmainham Jail, which is where the rebel leaders were taken by the British after the Rising and then executed in the first days of May. So I thought I'd launch off the second half of this poem, which is called Rebel Yell. The British filled Stonebreaker's yard with rebel blood. Not content with those grim echoes, the Irish did it later to themselves, yet whose fingers were really on the triggers, those who shot their countrymen, or an empire eking out its freedoms as a miser shares his loot. Beside a lock of Michael Collins' hair, his hairbrush, a present from true love Kitty, and his general's walking stick. You can question who sold out to whom, what's done is done. We must respect true men and women who thought liberty solid if one moment passed in fetters. Add to Collins' fair locks these darker wisps of Connolly's. Add to freedom's pantheon this rebel yell that echoes down the century. I'm shamelessly plugging my books, by the way. That's from Baltimore, which is named after Baltimore in Cork, and a couple of poems now from my latest collection, which is called Looking for Eden. As I mentioned before, I was brought up as a Catholic, and although I'm very much lapsed now, one thing that does stay with you is the Bible stories. And I found myself writing one of the stories from the point of view of an everyman witnessing the events happening around him, maybe one of the apostles or disciples. And I find out after a while I've written 5 of these, so I thought I'd read a couple tonight, which is from Looking for Eden. And as Easter should be at this time of year, I think it's very confusing that it skipped by us in March. These have a kind of relevance to Easter. The first one is, of course, the crucifixion. As far as I'm concerned, they shocked him to the Romans because they were jealous. He was stealing their thunder, and their egos couldn't deal with that. King of the Jews was being bandied around, but it wasn't his idea. He was happy to be known as Son of God. Well, wouldn't you? The Romans didn't want to get involved. It was a local squabble, they felt, and in squabbles there are always 2 sides, hero to some, villain to others. He was my friend, but I didn't go to the crucifixion. What would have been the point? I couldn't have helped him being part of a mob. I prefer to remember him that last night in the garden, praying for salvation, but I was tired from wine with supper and nodded off. When I woke, he was gone. There was an imprint in the grass where he knelt. Fortunately, the story continues and has a happy ending. So this is the resurrection. Once the funeral's over, there's not much to do, except chat about the friend you've lost, how much they meant to you, the things you wished you'd said to them or did together. Funny that. We all feel guilty when someone goes, just the way it is, I suppose. I went up to the tomb, sat with the ladies and his mum, talking about him, what a good lad he was, what a terrible end befell him. We drank a little wine, got a bit tearful, to be honest. There was nowhere else I needed to be, now he was gone. I was unemployed in a manner of speaking, having been one of the 12. A couple of nights passed. We comforted each other as best we could. Someone had dates and bread, another a jug of honey. We prayed, of course. Well, it's what he would have wanted. I had a funny feeling that third day. We all did. The sky was not so much bright as luminous, if you know what I mean. Most of the ladies were asleep. His mum was knitting. I was dozing, sleeping off last night's wine. It was the scraping noise that woke me, the tomb lid being moved aside as it turned out. Then he was there, dusting himself off, rubbing his eyes, good as new. I handed him the jug of wine. He pretty near drained it, he was that thirsty. Then he turned to his mum. I can't remember what they said to each other. I started to build a fire, sent one of the shepherds to slaughter a goat. I tell you, we were fair ravenous. I went to see the Stranglers concert recently, and I like to keep up to date with my musical taste. For several days afterwards, their song "No More Heroes" kept going through. You know, no more heroes anymore, no more heroes anymore. And so I thought I'd write a poem to try and exercise the "no more heroes" line that kept popping up in my head. So this is called "No More Superheroes." Finally you accept there are no superheroes, no one to swoop beneath the plane, single-handedly guide it to land, no one to right the capsized boat, rescue the passengers, set it afloat, no one to quench the fire, unswirl the sandstorm, splice the flows, push water up the mountain. Your eyes are fully opened, trust only takes you so far, faith and credibility are orphaned, the once mighty shorn of their locks, and no one, nowhere can mend a broken heart. I was listening to a program on the radio about weddings, and a number of women were discussing their weddings, and one or two said they'd had quite a nice traditional wedding with white wedding dresses and that sort of thing. But this woman suddenly popped up and she said that she got married in Bermuda shorts and gold trainers and had a fantastic time. And I thought, what an interesting woman, but she then disappeared from the programme, and I thought, I don't know, it's such an interesting woman that potentially there I'll just have to invent a life for her. So this is someone somewhere in gold trainers. She married in Bermuda shorts and gold trainers after drinking all night with Cuban musicians. Then it was honeymoon time. 2 weeks in a van, Europe speeding by, mountains and lakes cupping the moon. They toured Africa, taught reading, writing, bareback riding. Children came along like buses, though never three at once. Summer tapped on the door, baubles hung at Christmas, snow melted beside ambitions. Dreams became muddy as cow pies, Bermuda shorts hung out to dry. Still, there were nights of Cuban music, golden rum chasing the beat. It was memory time. Someone, somewhere, in gold trainers, turning the corner, pressing a doorbell, smiling into the eyes of a beautiful new friend. I'm going to finish with a poem that was inspired by the Financial Times. What else? I was reading it one day. You have to find out what the enemy are thinking. And came across a column by Lisa Pollock where she said, on their deathbed, no one says they wish they'd gone to more meetings. And this is regrets. On his deathbed, he wished he'd gone to more meetings, had more delayed train journeys, waited longer in supermarket queues, encountered more options when phoning the gas board, contributed more to work collections, stayed longer at birthday and Christmas dues, been more fulsome in praise of idiot managers, worked on long after retirement age, forfeiting a globe-trotting pension gap year, an affair with a woman half his age. How much better if there were more dental appointments, more bouts of flu, more spam mail, more sweaty tube journeys, more early morning alarms, hurry, get dressed, there's no time to blink moments. How much better if he wasn't on his deathbed, heading for God knows where, and he awoke in time to hear someone say, "That covers everything. Do you have any questions?" So, don't go away, because Lisa Kelly